Yachty.
I think Infusion was great. I learned a lot of stuff in Infusion, and one of the things I learned was when we talked about the feeding the poor, and we came back and we discussed on how we were going to help the community around us, and CA started the homeless walk after that. And it wasn't just about how we could help the poor individually, but how we could help as a group. I grew a lot learning more about how I could grow myself spiritually, spending quiet time with God and reading Bible and reading other books. And I felt like those were the things that helped me grow more and understanding more about we're in the world for God and we're in God for the world. So we learn a lot of things we use in our daily lives. So I was really amazed by the way they talked about, especially the poor, because I thought it's not a big deal, but when they brought up all the statistics and a lot of things about how big of a deal it is, I thought it was my obligation and everyone's obligation to look into that part of, the community and find out how we can help change that or eradicate that.
When I was first born, my parents weren't the happiest parents alive. My mother's second child and my father's firstborn. You would think this child, being I, wouldn't start out with such hardships, but clearly I was wrong. I stand here today to share my hardships, in which not only formed me as a person, but also somehow drew me closer to God. I started my life out speech impaired. I struggled with comprehension, communication, interpretation, understanding of the world, memory, everything. I was the little girl trapped inside this mute box, which no one understood. Even my mother, to this day, tells me that she didn't even understand me. I'm just gonna drop it. Unfortunately, users took advantage of that, which made life harder on me. So first off, I was physically abused for 4 years. It started when I was 4 years old and went till I was 8 years old. It was kind of physical beating every day before and after school by my neighbors, and I was confused because I was praying with my mom about it, saying, God, why is this happening to me? And am I the only one? But I never heard anything. And it's kind of hard, it was hard on me because I'm more of a visual person. Like, I have to see before I can actually understand something. And being that I can't see God, how am I supposed to know that He's real or not? So at the same time of being physically abused, I was also sexually harassed by my babysitter for about 4 years as well at the same time as being physically abused. I didn't understand why it was happening. It was just every day. My parents both worked full time. It was just really hard. I was trapped on the inside. I just wanted to branch out to the world and be like, hey, this is happening to me. Someone please help me. But help never came. Even after all these prayers, it just kept going and I became angry. And that was it. But by the time I reached 8 years old, I moved away from New York. I lived closer to the Watertown, somewhere around there. And I moved to Vermont, and I lived there for about 10 years. And I thought life was gonna start getting better again, and I was right, it really did start to get better. I made great friends, I started going to a new church. I met this really amazing guy named TJ, and he was like one of the first people who actually understood me. And I was like, wow, someone actually understands me, this is great. No one, including my own parents, don't even know what I'm talking about majority of the time. And he told me about God, and he helped me understand, and life was on the right track. But it all changed when I turned 14. TJ, he died from heart complications. And it was hard. He was one of my best friends, and I felt like I was being punished because I didn't believe, and I don't know. I tried to get back into my faith and push through and try to become a better person. But then a year later, a really good friend of mine named Tyler also died. He died in a horrific car accident, and he suffered. And when he suffered, I became angry and abandoned God. And when that happened, life just went downhill from there. I was depressed, I was suicidal, I was cutting, I was doing everything just to, I don't know, I just wanted the pain to end, but it didn't. So then I went down as low to self-medicating. I used for a little over a year. And when I did that, I abandoned my family, I abandoned my friends, I abandoned everything I ever loved or cared about, and lost myself. I felt like that person stuck on the inside of that mute box all over again. And honestly, it was horrible. But then one day I just thought, hey, I should go home. Why not? What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm already at rock bottom right now. So I finally went home, and when I did, I prayed with this woman named Jan, and she was like an aunt to me. She was with me when I was growing up, and she already knew about the addiction. She told me that God told her about the addiction itself, and we prayed about it. We prayed that I'd meet new people and everything was going well. I was getting over this addiction that I had, and I was trying to escape the drugs, and I was doing still well until December. That was when I relapsed, and that was also the day that I almost died. I took way too much, and when I did, I experienced the worst pain I can ever imagine in my entire life. I felt my soul being pulled from my body, and my friends that I was with did watch me die. And when I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, I couldn't see, I couldn't do anything. I was hopeless. And when I finally lost consciousness, I literally felt God's presence with me. It was so comforting and terrifying all at the same time. He literally put the fear of God into me, being like, you know what, girl? You're making all the wrong decisions. This needs to end now, or you will lose everything. And I did. From that day on, I've been clean. And it's great. After that, all my prayers started to come true because I took the path that God wanted me to take. I made new friends. I let go of all of the drugs. I let go of all the bad influences. And I met CA. CA was ultimately an answer to my prayers because I needed CA to help me bring me closer to God. Otherwise, where would I be? Smothered in drugs, away from my family, selfish? No, I couldn't have that. And now I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm pursuing my dreams in art. I even got a tattoo on my back that helps remind me of the abuse so I don't go back to it. As you can see, it's a cross with wings to help represent that God set me free from addiction and that I will never go back to it and I will continue going forth on the path of God. Thank you.